Okay, I have done some mistake here. It's saying some bracket I'm missing. Okay, get sum is already doing the sum, right? So why to write the logic again? I'll be passing get sum. But here, hey there, this is Gaurav. Welcome back with another video of the series Learn JavaScript from Scratch. In the last video, we have discussed about function declaration versus function expression. There I mentioned what is the difference between them and how to write a function using declaration and expression. When you should go for declaration, when you should go for expression. So now in this video, I'll be talking about one interesting and important concept we have in JavaScript function called first class function. So this is a concept that made JavaScript function very powerful, or I would say JavaScript very powerful. So this concept opens up different features, like because of that we can write higher order abstraction in JavaScript. So without wasting any further time, let's jump right in. First class function. So in JavaScript, the function that we can see, it's not an ordinary function. It's called first class function. But when we can say a function as a first class function, when that function should have some behavior or some characteristic, right? So let us understand that. Earlier I mentioned that a function is nothing but an object in JavaScript. Why? Because all non-primitive data type other than primitive are nothing but an object, right? And function is non-primitive data type. So because it's an object, a function can be treated as any other variable in JavaScript. So let me show you how it can be treated as a variable. Like we can store a function in a variable. Like we are storing a variable in a variable, the same way we can store a function in a variable. Next, we can pass the function as an argument to another function like a variable. And this is a very important triple start concept. Later we will see one concept called callback. That concept will come from this concept. So like we are passing variable or value as an argument to a function, the same way we can pass a function as an argument to a function. And the third one is we can return a function from a function like a variable. Like as we're returning value or variable from a function, the same way we can return a function from a function. So this is also a very important triple star concept. Later I will talk about one concept called closure. There also I will discuss about this concept. And that's all. So if a function can be treated like a variable, then we can call that function as first class function. So now let me show you something in action. I will show you some example. I will cover all these 3 points so that you can understand how we can treat a function as a variable. So let's see that. So again, I'm back to JSPin. So we'll be talking about first class function with an example. So let's look at all these 3 behavior of first class function with an example. So let's talk about the first one, that we can store a function in a variable like a variable. So do you remember about it? In the last video only I have discussed about it, and that is function expression. You're right. So how to write a function expression? The syntax is like this. So first I have to declare a variable. Let's say this variable is getSum, because this function that I will write, this is responsible for summing to number. That's why the variable, let's say, getSum. And here in that variable I'll be storing my function. And here how to write function? It would be anonymous function, like with the function keyword and its scope. Okay, that is a function definition. Now as this function will be doing sum, so it will be taking 2 number. Let's say I'm taking 2 number, num1, num2, and just I'll be returning num1 plus num2. That's it. So this is nothing but function expression, where we are storing a function that is nothing but the function definition into a variable. And that is what the first example is saying. We can store a function in a variable. Now how to call or invoke this function based on the variable name, like we have getSum. So if I just write getSum, and if I, let's say, pass 2 number 10, 20, and whatever it is returning, let's say I'm just consoling it. So if I just run it, we are getting 30, right? So that is what called function expression, which is the first behavior that one first class function should have, like it can store a function in a variable. So what about the second example? It is saying we can pass a function as an argument to another function, like we are passing variable. So here we are passing a variable, right, or constant. Like the same way we can pass a function while calling that function. So let's look at the same with an example. So again I am taking, let's say, function expression. Here also I'll be doing sum, but I'm giving a different name, let's say get result, which will be giving me sum. Okay, again I'm writing the same way, let's say a function, anonymous function, that is nothing but function expression. Okay, and I will be calling this function. I'll be, let's say I'm writing console.log, because whatever this function will return, I would like to see it. Okay, and I'll be calling this function. Okay, that is a very basic pattern that I've written. Now I want to pass a function as an argument to this function. Okay, so let's say as this function will be doing sum, so I'll be passing two numbers the same way, num1, num2. The same way I have to pass, this time I'll be taking, let's say 30 and 60, whatever you want. Okay, and also I have to pass one function. I want to pass one function, and here my function is that we have already defined, that is get sum, right? Because get sum is already doing the sum, right? So why to write the logic again? I'll be passing get sum, but here we are not calling it. If I write like this, then I'll be calling that function, but we are not calling it, we are just passing the definition here. Now I need to receive it, I need to store the definition, so I can store it in callback function. So that is what called callback function. That standard name, you can write whatever you want, but callback function is like the function that we are passing as an argument. Now this function will be called, based on the parameter that we will pass here. Okay, so now I want to call this function, let's say with the num1, num2 that I just received. Okay, so if I call this function with num1, num2, that means num1 is 30 here and num2 is 60. Okay, and the same thing we are passing here, 30 and 60. And what is the function? That is get sum. So this function will be called and it will return me num1 plus num2. So whatever I'll be getting, I'll just returning it. Okay, it makes sense, right? Okay, so now again if I try to console, I'll be getting 90. Okay, I have done some mistake here. It's saying some bracket I'm missing. Okay, so this one I'm missing. Sorry for that. Yeah, so I'm getting 90 now. So you can see how it's happening. So get sum, like it's nothing but a function, right? So we are passing a function, we are treating this function as a variable. That is the main property of first class function, right? A function can be treated as a variable. So that is how we are passing this function and we are calling it here. That is what called callback function. So in upcoming videos, I'll be discussing more about callback function. But at least you have some idea about it. So next, the third one, it says we can return a function from a function like a variable. So like we are returning here some value or constant or some variable, right? The same way we can return a function from a function like a variable. Okay, the same thing, let us do it. Let's say again I'm taking function expression, same type of name, let's say get result sum. Okay, and again I'm taking same function expression syntax. Okay, and this function will return me another function. Okay, this is also, let's say, anonymous function. Okay, this function is returning another function, and this function, let's say, receives same num1, num2, because I am giving you example of sum in all these three example. So that's why here also I want this function to do the same thing. So now here it is doing the sum, let's say returning num1 plus num2. Okay, and now if I call this function like this, it just I'm calling this function. Okay, so what I'll be receiving, I'll be storing, let's say, in one variable, or let's say result. I'm just writing result here, and whatever I'm receiving here, I'm just storing it here. Okay, so what we are receiving, we are receiving one function. So here result is storing that function what we are receiving. So now let me call that function, this one. How to call it? I'm just writing console.log, and here result, and you can see this function is taking two arguments, num1 and num2. I can directly pass here, sorry, I need to pass a value. I'm passing, let's say, 50 and 150. Okay, so now if I just try to run, yep, it's right. So now instead of writing it in two lines, we can write it in one single line as well. Let's say console.log. Now here I am getting the function, and that function I'm calling with value num1 and num2. Again I'll be getting same value. Perfect. Okay, so now if I have to sum up all the three example in this single function, it is possible. How? The first one is like it is a function expression. We are storing this function in a variable. That is what the first condition says. Next one also we can do. How to do it? Like I can directly pass here my callback function, that is getSum. Okay, and now I can just call it here as callback, the one we have seen, and we can just write return num1 num2. Okay, if I just clear it out and see, we are getting the same result. So in this example, I can sum up all these three behavior. The first one, we can store a function in a variable, that is what called function expression. The second one, this function, taking one argument, that is nothing but the function that we are passing here. Okay, that is called callback function. And the third one, this function is basically returning one function, and that we are calling after it. Okay, so that is the behavior that we have in first class function. If a function is having all this behavior, then we can call that function as first class function. So thanks for watching. I hope you got the idea about first class function. So see you on the next video. Take care. Tata. Bye bye.